1 month ago, I ran the London Marathon in the women's elite field. I came 11th in a time of 2 hours and 30 minutes. It wasn't the race that I'd hoped for, or the race that I'd trained for, but it was the race that I got. And whilst I'm putting the London Marathon behind me now, getting back into training and looking ahead to the next one, I'm a big believer in learning more from the days that it doesn't go well than those PB performances when it all comes together. So in this video, I'm talking you through the 7 things that I am doing right now to make sure that my next marathon is faster than my last, including what the hell this thing is.
What are those?
Your socks.
I've got my socks on.
I just fancied swapping, you know?
Any other reason?
I might have forgotten to change my socks from the socks I put on with my trackies this morning, which were my fluffy, towely, on thick socks. So.
And where are your socks?
On your feet. You enjoying them?
Yeah, they're great.
So when I talk about reflecting on the last training block and looking at what went well, what didn't go well, all in all, it was a really strong training block. Obviously, I didn't get to sort of put that into the race that I wanted. That's okay. We're still going to look at improving that training block and putting some of those learnings into the next one. And the first thing I'm going to be doing is working on my weaknesses. So if we look at the key sessions that I did, one of the weaknesses I think that came up in this last block, and it kind of kills me to say it because I never thought it was a weakness of mine, but it was one of the key sessions that didn't go well. And the other 2 times that I did it, it went okay. And that's the progression run. It's a hard marathon style workout where you're getting to marathon pace gradually and then going under marathon pace. I need to do some digging to figure out if it's more mental or more physical or maybe a combination of both, but it's clearly something that I need to work on to be better at them next time around. And I heard from a little birdie, aka the guy behind the camera, that Coach John is considering just getting me to do those style sessions until they don't mean anything to me anymore. And I think that'll be really great for me for 2 reasons. Firstly, I need to see them as just another session, but also they're a really key session for getting a marathon faster. So if I do a lot of them between now and the next marathon, I think that's going to bode pretty well for the shape I can get in. Today is not a progression run though, thank God. That would be a little bit harsh, my first session back. Today is one of my favourite sessions. It's 90-30. 90 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 6 miles. It's just a great session.
Was that sarcasm?
Let's do it. So fast.
How's that? Good.
Hard but good. I think could have gone worse. Definitely went better than some of my first sessions back. So, she's back. Can we get some food now, please?
Yeah.
Very good. That was a delicious post-session feast as ever. Very grateful for my private chef, fiance, for always feeding me so well. And speaking of food, that's one of the areas that I want to do better at in the next training block. And honestly, just in general. And it's not necessarily that I feel like my diet needs improving or I'm missing certain things. Sometimes I am, but it comes down to planning. We still don't plan our meals. We buy what we want when we go food shopping, and then we decide what to cook when it comes to cooking. And I feel like this is something I should have cracked by now. I haven't, and that's okay. And I think planning what I'm gonna eat so that I can make sure, for example, the night before a session, it is really carb rich, it's got plenty of protein in there and maybe slightly less fiber so that I'm not gonna be reacting to said fiber during the session. It's things like making sure that I've got high protein snacks. I think I need to up my protein in general. And then it's just having like a nice variety, not buying the same things all the time. And this one comes more so from a kind of stress perspective, I think. Nutritionally, I think zooming out, looking at my diet, I'm ticking off most of the right things at most of the right times in general. And again, not a big fan of right or wrong foods. So I'm gonna rewind that. I think I'm eating well most of the time. I just think with a little bit of foresight and planning, I could do better. Most of the reason that we do pretty well is Daniel.
Yeah, boy.
If he wasn't here, I'll be having scrambled eggs on toast, lunch and dinner, approximately 7 days a week. I am lazy. You're a lazy one too, trash cat. I would like to just chill out a little bit more. What do I mean? In a marathon block, and I think especially in the last couple of marathon blocks, I have become quite stressed. And I think, sorry, I just got distracted by a candle.
What?
I'm gonna have to show you. It's been pretty warm and pretty sunny in Manchester recently. And so, you know what it looks like?
Yeah.
It looks like a melted candle.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, where was I? I think the tendency can be to get a little bit stressed in a marathon block because from where I'm sat anyway, I am trying to get everything right. You're trying to run enough, run fast enough, and hit those workouts really well. Sleep enough, eat enough. Remember to take your supplements. Remember to stay hydrated. Don't get sick, so don't go into contact with anyone that could get you sick. Be really careful if you have to.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And I think sometimes that can feel a bit much.
You don't say!
I very recently was diagnosed with ADHD as well, which isn't a huge surprise. I was on a very long waiting list and shock. I've kind of felt like that was the case for quite a long time. So I'm in the process at the moment of sort of trying to understand that a little bit better and how I can help myself, because I think sometimes the stress and the noise and effectively thinking about all of those things all at once and everything else that's going on in the present moment can feel a lot. So I want to do better at being kind to myself, but also just like chilling out a little bit. And sometimes I think that means accepting that you can't do everything and that you can't do everything perfectly. I'd like to not obsess or worry so much over the little things. If a session doesn't go perfectly, or even if a session goes wrong, I'd like to feel like my world isn't crashing down and just kind of like sit with it and move forward. So hold me to that. Keep your eyes peeled as to whether I'm staying true to that in the next marathon block. And speaking of chilling out more, do you ever feel like the stress around you in your life, either in the present moment or in your head, just needs the volume turning down on it that little bit? That is what you can literally do using the Loop Switch 2 earplugs, and I have been loving them. Loop earplugs have already been a huge part of my routine throughout the whole marathon build because I wear a different pair in bed every night so that I sleep like an absolute baby. These ones though might just be the best bang for your buck earplugs that you can get. They have not one, not two, but 3 adjustable sound settings. There's the engage mode, which just reduces background noise a little bit, but means you can still be aware of your surroundings. So maybe you want to stick these in for a run where you just want to be with yourself and your thoughts a little bit. There's the experience mode that turns that volume down even more. Perfect for finding that deep focus, eliminating distractions, and putting yourself in a place where you can prioritize your pre-race mindset, your visualization tools. And then there's quiet mode, which is for maximum calmness, meaning you're going to get the most out of your rest and recovery. And if you'd like to try out, in my opinion, the most versatile earplugs that you can get your hands on, you can get 20% off using my code, which is on screen now. It's loopx-philly. And there's also a link at the top of the description. Now, I've touched on strength training a little bit, and in the marathon block, it's a tricky one because your priorities in terms of the training kind of need to go getting the running volume in, nailing that, recovering from that running volume, and then maintaining your gym strength work. And what I've tried to do in the past is build up my strength work before the marathon block so that I'm strong enough, I'm in a place that if I'm not recovering enough, or I just need to can the gym session, I can do that and rely on the strength I already have. And I don't think that's the wrong decision. I just think in this block, I maybe canned the gym one too many times. I wasn't just about doing it once a week. I was maybe just about doing it once a fortnight, which is totally on me. And at the time, I thought I'm prioritizing recovery. That's more important. I need to be recovered. But I think it might have contributed to the niggle that I had in my back and then the other issues that caused, which are obviously going to be more likely when you're running high mileage. But don't worry, because I'm doing something about it. I'm going to go into detail a little bit more about this in a video on its own because there's a lot of information adaptation in there. I went and got some strength testing done over at the England Athletics Hub in Leeds, and it's really interesting to see where I'm weaker from the right to the left and where I'm really strong, but where I need to focus my energy. So I'm going to have a fully revamped gym program that I'm going to be doing religiously pre the next block and then also throughout the next block. And it's going to be really cool to see how that helps my running and hopefully helps me not get injured. Before I talk about the next one, we have an important task on our hands. These are my London Marathon nails. They look incredible, but they have grown out. So the time has come to get some new nails. I'm gonna take you with me. Results of the Instagram poll are in, and it looks like we're going for lemons, blues, and leaves. 47% people have spoken. I love them! They are just too good. Marathon nails gone, summer nails are in. I'm so happy with them. Before I go for my double, it makes sense to tell you about the next thing that I'm putting in, which is pretty simple. I'm gonna be seeing my physio every 2 weeks, without fail. Doesn't matter if I'm injured, not injured, got a bit of a niggle I'm working through, I am gonna see my amazing physio every 2 weeks, because that way he can keep on top of things, I can update my rehab with him, we can really sort of fine tune where I'm at and improving my weaknesses alongside the gym work. It's something that I find difficult to do when I'm away on a training camp, because tapping into physio resources somewhere where you're not based is just a lot harder, and surprisingly out in Flagstaff there's not a ton of good options. I'm spoiled because I have the best physio in the country up here in Manchester, and my thought process is get really strong, get the body in as good a place as is possible before I go out there for the next training camp for the next marathon, and I'm going to be in the best spot I can possibly be in. Bit too hot. The sick thing I'm doing is heat training. So post-London, a lot of people were asking me whether the heat was a factor and whether that bothered me during the race. And to be honest, it's really hard to tell because my back was so painful that that was almost the only thing I was thinking of, and the fact that I was running completely on my own. I think it probably did impact me, but it wasn't something I was necessarily consciously thinking about, because there's a lot of research to show that once you get to the sort of 18, 19, 20 degrees Celsius plus, especially when it's humid, it's gonna have an impact on especially marathon performance, because you're out there for such a long time that your core temperature is rising whilst the temperature is also rising in the race, and that just stints performance. Heat training can help with that. Now, it can help with it whether I'm preparing for a race in hot conditions or just preparing for a race full stop. There's a ton of different adaptations that the body hopefully gets from this heat training. Things like improving your oxygen consumption, improving your lactate threshold, improving your sweat rate and your sweat efficiency, which obviously helps cool you down, increased blood plasma volume, increased hemoglobin. It can have the effect of reducing your core temperature in like-for-like conditions and improving the perception of how warm it is. One moment, I just need to check my temperature. 38.2, going in the right direction. So there's a couple of ways that you can do heat training. You can go somewhere really hot, like Florida, and just live there and train there in the heat, and you're probably gonna get the adaptation. In Manchester, slightly more difficult, but there is a way to do it. And I've been working with my physiologist, which is key. This is a disclaimer, don't do this without any supervision, because it is dangerous. Like, if you overdo it, you could faint, get very dehydrated, and make yourself unwell. The way that I'm doing it is for 3 to 4 runs per week, I am jumping straight into a hot bath straight after the run. The bath needs to be 40 to 41 degrees Celsius. It's actually warmer than that right now, but I'm actually coping with it fine. I started off at 10 minutes in the bath, and the goal is to work up to somewhere between 20 to 30, maybe even 40 minutes at the end of it. I'm up to 15 minutes after 5 sessions, and for most of those runs, I'm layering up beforehand. So I'm wearing tights, trackies, long sleeve, short sleeve, 2 jackets, hat, headband, gloves, hood is up. I didn't do that today because I was feeling slightly tired and I had a session this morning, so the hot bath afterwards is still going to be enough because my temperature is going to be heightened during the run, and I'm excited to see how it works. Supposedly you can see benefits when you're doing it 3 to 4 times a week after about 3 weeks. The downside is, while some of the effects are similar to altitude, the drop off is very quick, so you have to maintain it, and once you've had that adaptation, if you maybe keep keep doing the hot baths and hot runs twice a week. It might be enough to maintain it for a few weeks, so if you're leading into a race, that's an ideal strategy. But yeah, we're kind of in experimentation mode at the moment. Hence, I'm measuring my temperature every few minutes in here to make sure that it is staying up. And the cool thing is, when I get out the bath, it stays up for a long time and I'm sweating for a long time, which is what we want. I will say, it's not fun. It doesn't feel good. It's not meant to feel good. If it feels good, you're not doing it hard enough. And next up, I'm gonna show you that weird contraption that I've got in my spare bedroom. This is my new toy. Heard it here first. My next challenge is to run the fastest marathon in a submarine. And that is what this is for. Guinness World Record, here we come. That's not actually what this is for. This is a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. It works at a pressure of 1.5 ATA. It's kind of the same as being 5 meters underwater. Higher pressure, you put a mask on while you're in there and get 100% oxygen. And the idea is to go in there for an hour, ideally 4 to 5 days a week, and it enhances recovery because you're getting more oxygen into the blood, speeding up that recovery process. We've had this loaned to us for a couple of months by the guys over at Oxidize, and they've worked with a few other professional athletes, footballers, wrestlers, tennis players, not specifically in my use case as a professional marathon runner, so I'm a little bit of a guinea pig, but it's also used by very unwell people to get them better faster because it speeds up recovery, it speeds up repair. I need to make sure I'm not using it straight after or within a good few hours after a hard session, because that's when inflammation is actually important. When you do a hard session, you want that inflammation to be there because that is what signals the body to repair and absorb that training and adapt from it. But I'm interested to see how using it away from those harder sessions might just enhance my average recovery day to day, week to week. So we'll see. It's a little bit of an experiment. It's quite a big piece of kit that's going to take up quite a lot of time, but we're going to give it a go. This really is a video about extracting those 1%. The basic core principles in getting better at training, getting better at running still apply. Staying consistent over time with your training and your volume, getting good quality sleep and adequate fueling. And I suppose this is also going to be a little bit of a disclaimer. A lot of these are very specific to me. They're the things that I'm doing as a professional runner to get better and make sure that my next marathon is faster than my last. Some of it you can for sure take and run with, pardon the pun, but this isn't necessarily advice. I'm a pro runner and some of these things I'm going to talk about aren't either necessary or realistic for the everyday or amateur runner. But if you are looking for a video that encapsulates only the things that you can do to get faster and be a better runner, check this one out after you've finished watching this one. Love the grind.